We start Surya Namaskar C in Tadasana with our hands at heart center. Stand with the feet together and align the outside of the feet parallel to each other. This may mean toes together and heels slightly apart. If you have a tight lower back, you can start with your feet at hips width distance, but try to pick one or the other and not end up in between the two. Engage the glutes to point the tailbone at the ground. Open across the collarbone, contract the shoulder blades, and knit down the bottom of the rib cage using the muscles of the abdominals. Inhale and raise the arms as high as you can without shrugging the shoulders up towards the ears. Keep the rib cage from accentuating here. If it's one of your first forward folds of the day, then keep your knees bent. Otherwise, check in with the quads to engage them. Exhale as you fold forward from the hips into Uttanasana. Be careful not to round through the low back. Inhale to Ardha Uttanasana by straightening the spine and reaching through the chest for a point on the ground in front of you. Place your hands on your shins or thighs. Exhale and step the right leg back, right knee down to kneeling. Pressing down into the mat with the top of the right foot, come up for Anjali Asana on an inhale. Again, stabilizing the pelvis by pointing the tailbone down at the ground, subtly engaging the core and opening through the chest. Traditionally, sun salutations match one breath per pose, but I often encourage people to take a few breaths here to explore this pose on their first Surya Namaskar during a given practice, moving dynamically and intuitively to find space, check in with the body, and discover where we may be holding tightness. On an exhale, place the hands on the mat, fingers spread wide, and take the left foot back to meet the right in plank. Rotate the arms so the biceps point towards the front of the mat. Point the tailbone towards the heels, and keeping the air expelled from the lungs, bring the knees down, chest and chin down, and butt up in the air. Inhale and come through for Cobra. Keep the pelvis in contact with the mat and the legs engaged all the way through the glutes to keep the tailbone pointed towards the back of the mat. Shoulder blades contracted here as we aim to spread the back bend evenly across the whole spine rather than just take it into our most flexible area, which is often our low back. Next, we have the option to either come through push-up position or through hands and knees on an exhale as we move towards down dog. Try to make this transition smooth and strong, and stay away from peeling yourself off the mat. Keep the knees bent to start in down dog. Make sure the biceps are still rotated forward as you press into the mat with a special focus on pressing down between the thumb and index finger. Contract the shoulder blades and then send them down the back, keeping the neck long. Knit down the bottom of the rib cage and press the hips high into the air before gently experimenting with straightening the legs. Be mindful that your heels do not creep in towards each other. Again, traditionally Surya Namaskar is done one breath per movement, but down dog is also a good pose to take a few breaths and explore the posture. For the record, if you've never understood when yoga teachers tell you that down dog is, quote, a resting pose, you're not the only one. For any person with tight hamstrings and or shoulders, this is a very challenging pose to hold. On an inhale, step the right foot through to the top of the mat and come up for Anjali Asana. Exhale to forward fold, feeling a subtle inward rotation from the thighs to create space in the low back, and at the same time, focusing on lifting through the arches of the feet. Bend the knees and come up on an inhale back to Urdhva Hastasana with arms raised, keeping the spine strong and straight. Check that the tailbone is pointing down towards the ground and the rib cage is held down by the abdominals. Squeeze the midline with the legs and exhale, bringing the hands back to heart center. This is 1/2 of one round of Surya Namaskar C. The other half would be doing the same motion, but stepping the left leg back from standing forward fold and the left leg forward after down dog. Here it is, done with 1 breath per motion. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, foot back to kneel. Inhale, come up for Anjali Asana. Exhale, hands down to the mat and foot back for plank. Keeping the air out, lower down the knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, leg forward for Anjali Asana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back to Urdhva Hastasana with arms raised. Exhale, hands to heart center. It may take some experimentation to find a pace that works for your breath, but I highly recommend committing the sequence to memory, especially if you're interested in learning to practice on your own. Starting by doing 8 full rounds of classical Surya Namaskar per day is a great way to start setting aside time for your daily practice and an effective exercise towards improving some of the most important postures in yoga asana. Namaste.